Okay. Well, things are on.
Okay.
So, hi. Welcome back to the Good Stuff Podcast with this character. My name is Derek Schwinn, Keller Williams real estate agent, and this is
Katie Crocco, Remax Winners, real estate agent.
Woo. So today I thought we'd talk about the market and probably the smartest agent I know, at least around here.
The busiest body.
Busy body.
Busy body. 21 years now doing
21.
this. So worked a few different markets.
And how many years of heritage? Is it just you and your mom, or it was
I'm
before that,
third
right?
generation.
That's what I thought.
So my grandfather started it, and then Meg, and then now me for 20. Meg's having her 40th year this year.
40
I'm at 21.
So Grandpa was probably 10, 15,
Long
20
time.
before that?
Yeah.
I thought it was that far, but I didn't realize it was that far.
Minute or two.
Very cool.
Meg only got into it when he passed.
Oh,
So
took
it
over.
was that big of it. Yeah.
Really? Same building?
No,
Different
she
area?
was no, it was a different building uptown. It was Michael Realty where
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
In there.
So in there.
Nice.
Yeah. My stomach's gonna growl. Just so you know.
I don't think it'll hear it. Maybe.
Okay, sweet.
We'll see.
Sorry guys. Bring donuts. Next time. Note to self.
I was thinking coffee, but okay. Donuts. That's a good point.
Coffee for Crocco?
Coffee for Crocco.
Caffeine
Ooh.
for Crocco.
Is
That's a terrible idea.
Uh,
A really bad idea.
yes. Really, so have you ever been
No.
accused of ADHD or any of that?
Probably.
Probably. Somebody told me the other day that it doesn't have an effect on ADHD people.
Oh no, I'm high kicking and running around.
Even
like,
more.
If I have a soda at lunch, I'm running around like with pens, like they're yeah. And then I
then
crash. And then I crash. Hardcore. So no, thank you.
No. Okay. So donuts.
Sugar is my preferred.
Sugar
high.
is good. Sugar and gluten. I'm a gluten fan.
Oh, give me a potato and bread.
Yeah. Oh.
Give me any kind of potato, any kind of bread. We digress, but
I was
it's
gonna
food.
say. Well, anyway, so we said we talk about the market and food. Okay, favorite food. We'll go there for a second. What's your favorite food?
Yes.
Yes, food. Yeah. Potato and bread.
Oh man. Cheese.
Cheese. Ooh.
Dairy.
You're kind of fancy with your food, too.
Dairy
right?
and carbs. Dairy and carbs. Not all the time, because sometimes all I just want is a Kraft mac and cheese with some
Well, I didn't say all the time,
crispy
but
fish sticks.
yeah, but I think sometimes is more than most. Most
Sometimes
don't
you
get
just
fancy.
want. I do love food. It brings joy.
Amen to that. So what's your favorite new restaurant before we get into the market
Oh man.
of the ones that have come lately?
To Marysville?
Mm-hmm. The area. I don't know.
Probably Homestead. It's a vibe.
I like it. Yeah.
It's a vibe. Oh yeah.
Good food. Good
If it the
food, good
the
drinks.
bologna melt.
Everything. So Mike and I built the tables
Yes.
in there, and so we got to go in for the soft opening, and they were like, "Oh, here, try this and try this and try this," and that was the guy that designed the menu that cooked it.
Yes.
That was like perfect.
I did. They were doing some photography shoots for the new menu that's been out for a while now. And I watched what they were doing, and they were like, had stuff by the window and doing lighting and doing all the things. And I'm like trying to creep
Come on in.
what you got for me. And they had some stuff out, and I was like, you need to throw a little bit of this on this and do this, and you need to serve it like this. And they came back out. I'm like, mwah, perfect.
Many talents
You
have.
eat with your eyes first.
That you do.
Yeah. It's like staging.
I never thought of it that way.
It really is presentation.
Mhm.
You eat with your mouth and eyes first, and you shop with your eyes first.
So when you eat those fancy things, do you like delicately
no.
carve through it? Because then the presentation's gone if you just.
It depends on what it is. So there's some things it's still this just mound of fabulousness, and it's not delicate. It's what you're serving and the vibe you're going for. No,
Touche.
it's not always that way. But there's other things where there's just no way to not mess up a rack of lamb. You're making a mess. You're holding the little thing, and if you want every little bite, it's a wing. So
Have you been to was it Valentina's or Valentino's?
Of course.
Yes, I figured.
I just want to shove all the focaccia in my face.
So I'm not too into. I like pasta, but I've never really done the mozzarella bar type thing, and we got some of that when we were in there. And no, yeah.
I'm really excited. Polino's Pasta is opening up a sandwich and bread location, and I will be there every day.
That one I'm not. I'll have to
Or
look into that.
Why am I brain farting? It's in Dublin. They have the bread right there that I just.
Oh,
Vincenzo's.
Vincenzo's. Ooh.
Lurvert. We love bread and food.
Amen to that. Okay.
Market.
Real estate market.
Yeah.
So we talked that there are some negative things out there out in the world about real estate to an extent with rates and all that stuff. And so we were talking about the Good Stuff podcast and how do we keep this on the positive side?
Absolutely.
And we suggested.
I think the good stuff about all of this is now's the time to buy.
And why is that?
Right. So you might think, oh, the rates, everything's so high, the prices are going up. But some houses are sitting for longer. Average days on market for things that didn't sell in the first couple of weeks in the Union County area is 65 days. So I have had contracts come across where the seller has paid buy down points. Normally we don't love that, but that's where we're at now. So now's your opportunity. Focus on houses that have been up for 10 days or more. Make offers with closing costs. Make offers with get yourself in a position where you can be competitive, because what's going to happen is the second the rates go back down and let's be conservative, 2025, not only have you had 2 years worth of price increase, but now you have double at least the amount of buyers to compete against because the rates went back down.
Mm-hmm.
So the good news is do it now, because the prices, sorry, y'all, prices are not going down. It's not going to happen.
Why is that? Because it happened like what, 8 years ago? Mm-hmm. So it's going to happen again, right? The cycle?
No.
Why not?
Not necessarily. Supply and demand. I mean, it's legit basic economics. And people are going to talk about, well, we don't need more really expensive housing. We need affordable housing, which is an entire different discussion. But we just need more housing in general on every tier. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is the reason we need it in every tier of housing. So million up, high end, all that kind of stuff. Because if those buyers in that high end aren't finding what they want, guess what happens? They come down and they shop in the next level down, and they're more competitive because they have the money, or they go somewhere else. So you have this like downward pressure on every price point, because the people that can't find stuff go here, and then they weed out the people that were trying to buy in that price range. And then where do they go? They go down, and then weed out people, and so on and so on and so on, until you have, exponentially more buyers in what is considered the affordable price range, and everyday people can't compete.
Right now.
Well, I mean, right now in Marysville schools, because I like to use Marysville schools instead of Union County, because we get some of Jerome, which is just not.
Yep, that's what I always say.
Feasible for most people in Marysville, the area.
Well, it's just not Marysville.
It skews the Union County numbers, in my opinion, because if you take Union County, we have such a disparity within the county of price points. So if you just take Marysville schools, it really does encompass some high end and some low end, but not the two extremes of the county.
And it kind of cuts out the different communities. Like I like to say, like the O Strand are getting over to Fairbanks and all the different areas. It kind of segments into really what it is. Yeah.
So just right now for sale in Marysville schools, there's only 39 houses. And that includes new builds. And of those 39, only 8 of them are under 300. 8.
I was going to say, and 8. How many are at the top? Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't build for that. So there needs to be more houses for sale in the upper price ranges, so people in the lower price ranges can upgrade. We're seeing a lot more people combining households and buying something bigger. So just getting creative and knowing that it's not going to end. The prices are going to keep going up, especially for the lower end stuff, because there's such a disparity in the supply versus demand. So that's not going to change.
Yep. I've got a couple clients like that. That's exactly what we're dealing with.
There's exponentially more people that need that under 300 and under 250, and they're just not there, and you can't build for that. So it's never not going to be stiff competition.
So do you want to touch on the affordability conversation briefly?
I mean, we can.
It's a negative.
It is a negative, but I think it's more of an awareness thing where it's not. It's going to be a group effort. There are.
Well, I'm saying, is there any point in talking about it when there really aren't any options?
You can't create more. You can't build it for that with the parameters that will happen naturally. So building housing affordability is going to be a group effort of communities relaxing some zoning in favor of some higher density and things like that. And then
up at the top level,
top levels have to do the federal grants, things like that. So it's going to require an effort federally, state, and local, along with community members not being scared of the word affordable housing, because that I think has gotten a bad rep. But these are your folks in town that you know and love and see them every day in the community. They're priced out.
Right. Yeah. If you had to put a number on affordability, what would you say is the number?
Locally?
43040. Marysville School District.
For the people that I see come in the office, for the people that call to get pre-approved, it's 225 and under. And doesn't exist.
That's about this close to impossible.
Uh-huh.
Like,
right.
Yeah, I think there's, and not to get political or anything, but there's a lot of conversation around, affordability, that is so far from realistic. Because what's a new build? Like, what's the cheapest end you would think on a new build?
Oh man, even those ones with no basements, they're $350 and up.
Yeah. If they're building production efficient at $350 and up,
mm-hmm.
and now I've heard some crazy ones down, Amish built and all kinds of stuff.
Sure,
but that different story. In general, the convenience and the availability of stuff is $350 and up. So $225 and under. I was going to say $250 somewhere in there, maybe.
Yeah.
But even that's challenging. So the $100,000 discrepancy there, I don't think we're going to get there. But
no, not without a conscious effort and everyone getting involved in understanding. And one of the things I try to express to community members, whether it's here or anywhere, because this is a national problem, it's not just here,
right.
is kind of reminding them just because you don't want to live in the product doesn't mean someone else doesn't want it. Like,
so do you think there's a big line between affordable housing and just housing? People that are averse to
100%
the growth.
We need housing, period. Particularly in this community, we need senior housing. We need affordable housing. We need density. We need condos. And I know there's the conversation of, we don't need any more apartments. And it breaks my heart that has to stop. And we're realtors. We want people to own things. But the reality is, one, it's really hard to enter the market. So what do we do with these people that are, incapable of ever saving up enough money right now to buy something, let alone afford what our community has to offer? They need to stay in a rental significantly longer to save up that much, but they want to have a nice accommodation. So just the inability to purchase has driven up the need for rentals. And remember, we didn't build anything for like 15, 20 years.
Mm-hmm. I think it was even longer than that. What was the
for the multifamily? I think it was
multifamily. Yeah.
For the multifamily, we didn't build any multifamily in this area for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
So the apartments that we have now are just getting us up to par, let alone the demand. And the last 4 years have seen such a significant change that our comp plan that we have is irrelevant. Even if we would have done our comp plan in 2020, it would have been irrelevant now because of everything that has
Well, it's kind of like I remember in 08 and all of that, the building the schools, and I forget exactly the details, but the schools being built and then schools sitting empty because of the downturn in the economy.
Yep.
And my mom was on the not school board, in the levy committee. She said, well, people don't really understand it. From the day they said build school, it took 7 years. So there's only so much planning. I mean, that's the same with car. The technology in cars is old because they built the car, or they started building and designing the car 5 years ago or whatever it is.
There's a delay to these things.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do with that. But
and consider, it takes. When did we sit in city council for the third reading of Woodside, across from Benny's? That was 6-7 years ago.
And
it's still not even halfway. It takes a long time to get stuff built.
Which is a good thing on one hand, because you want some slow, steady.
I mean, yes, but also it's the pace that what Central Ohio is growing with Intel and the other companies coming in is happening so fast, even for that. That I just don't see how these local municipalities and local communities are going to keep up modifying their long-term plans and modifying how do we adapt without help, without advice and guidance, and people are going to freak out. But know that it's happened elsewhere, and we can do it, and we can be logical about it. And
these are the times I think it might be good not to have rules. I like rules, and I like
process.
And not that I'm saying I always think back to yesteryear, like Steve Stolte said, back then they didn't have the zoning and they didn't have how wide the streets had to be for development. Right. So that cost wasn't there, and so things got done easier. So that's the other thing about affordable housing I've touched on with people in conversations, that I would say there's probably an easy argument. We probably have the best product from a housing standpoint across the world. Like the quality and what we get for the price we get. Safety, security. I mean, it ranks up there.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying there's a lot of things, like the amount of money that's in a new build for regulatory fees and permits and all of that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So if we want secure, safe, not formaldehyde insulation from China,
there's going to be a cost.
Well, and so I think there's that challenge of we can't have our cake and eat it too. Mm-hmm. If we want a really nice product, and we want nice, and we want all these things, and so there's a bit of that challenge in the affordability.
But I think that's where the government agencies, your local, your state, your federal, need to come in, and there needs to be some adjustment or incentivization for these, because these developers, they're not charity. They run businesses. They need to make money, and I don't expect them to work for free. But can there be a grant program to purchase the land that it goes on? Can there be a grant program to pay the tap fees in a community? Can there be to pay for some portion, and then can that remain discounted? How do you pass that through? But then how do you ensure that the prices stay low? There needs to be a big conversation about it, but I think there's so much going on that it's hopefully they're going to be discussing it.
Yes, and one of the beauties is things work themselves out. It will. Have faith.
Yeah.
You know what? You know why? Because it's the only option.
It's the only option. I think there just needs to be some rebranding, if you will, of the notion of housing affordability. Because and again, I go back to just because you don't want to live in it doesn't mean someone isn't super excited to have that place. I remember my first place wasn't that great of a product because, it was really, really cheap, but I made it nice.
Yeah.
I made it nice.
Well, and it's ownership, and it's a step, and it's kind of like the minimum wage conversation of you got to start somewhere, and there's, all that kind of stuff. But I think one of the concepts that I think views this correctly or in a good way was somebody we know said these communities hate their kids. They don't have a system that allows. So even if you don't like it, I mean, for those who have kids and want, I've heard many people say, don't invest in a college fund for your kids. Buy them a house. That's going to be much more worthwhile when they're older. And so if there aren't those entry level houses, who cares if you like it or whoever don't you want something affordable for your kids to start life in? Absolutely.
Kids, grandkids,
or all that. Whoever it is.
Or you when you're going to retirement.
That's a whole nother segment.
That's the thing to consider is there's so many different demographics that are going to need that level. So everyone needs to make a conscious effort to not just talk about it happening, but actually tangibly make it happen.
Yes. Had a random side note to that.
Yes.
We're talking a lot about people that need to be there. What about people that want to be there, that don't want to spend a fortune on their house? And, so
they have honestly, good for them. That's really smart decisions. I love that people are being conservative because I went through the crash, working through the crash before it was public in 2008. You show up to houses at 2006, 2007, and we all knew what was happening. But you go into these homes and they're like, oh, we can't afford our payment anymore, But then they've got 2 cars per person and
all the stuff,
all the toys, 4 jet skis and a speedboat and all that kind of stuff. So I've seen a trend after the crash, a trend away from that where people are pretending they only have one income or they're pretending, they are being more conservative. So
I mean, here are the numbers behind that. What is it? 40% don't have a mortgage in the country. 40% of homeowners, they don't have a mortgage. And those that do, almost half are over 50% equity or so. And proving your numbers or proving your point that people are more conservative. And so that's another reason we won't have a what?
Crash. And for everyone I will say, I know we're supposed to be talking about the good stuff, but we are going to see some foreclosures come through. It's not going to be like it was. So, and keep in mind, the banks have wised up. They now know that if they spend a little bit of money, paint the place, get it looking nice, that they can double their money. So don't expect if we get foreclosures to come through them to look like they did in the crash.
For those that don't know, I learned that coming into the business 10 years ago, since you were in it before, but they didn't have it took me a while to understand. They didn't have a process for that's what Katie's talking about, is they didn't have a process. So they were like, get these off our books. And
they weren't even prepared. So the fact that a lot of them sat for 2 years before the banks even would acknowledge what was happening and get asset management. The word asset management company was not a thing until probably late 2007, 2008. So these houses sat. I mean, I kept chest high waiters in my car to show houses. And there were houses that had mushrooms growing out of the drywall. And, it was a very different time. We sold houses. We figured it out. But it is not going to happen again.
Yeah.
No, not happening. Just
soundbite number one. Sadly, well, yeah, it's, so I struggle to figure out exactly the best way to communicate kind of where things are at and where they're going and whatnot. And I've somewhat leaned towards, it's been crazy. Mm-hmm. Higher rate. I mean, not that anybody wants higher rates other than.
I mean, it's crazy out there, but there's ways to maneuver it. You just have to have someone who knows what they're doing and can work with the parameters to be real with you and you then have the honest conversation of, what can we do? What does this look like? And how do we get there that's reasonable?
Yep.
So, and managing the expectations of which check boxes you think you're going to get and which ones you're really going to get when you're going out shopping. So compromise everything. All
concessions, Eric Hill said the other day. That's the word he uses.
Concessions.
Yes. I like that.
Yeah. You have to just see and just know no matter what you buy, you're going to be building equity. So get something, your deal is buying something this month instead of next month.
What did somebody say? Don't pass up the house or don't pass up the price on a house that you would, what was it? It was something like in 5 years, it's going to be worth more. So if you'd pay today's price 5 years from now, buy it now. Cause in 5 years,
time value of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Time value of money.
And the old adage these days that you lock in your price now because prices are going to climb. Like you said, interest rates can fluctuate.
That the quote that everyone is using, you marry the house, you date the rate.
I don't like, but there's more to it than that.
There really is, but it's
if you can,
not wrong.
Yeah,
no, if you can refi, if you can do that,
Yeah.
But
yes. Okay. What's your favorite stats for real estate? What do you like? What's your goofy? I don't know. I like random useless trivia that seems useful to me, but other people think are useless. Do you have any of those kind of weird off the wall because you're a touch weird? No,
I'm super weird, but I don't know. What kind of stuff do you look up that's super weird?
I just thought I don't know. Like I tell my girls, good can be weird, so I like weird. I like quirky.
Stats. The Marysville Area Realty Association is the best one in Central Ohio, so that's a
boom. Let's see. I
don't know.
Okay, here's what I didn't really think of, because I'm always trying to figure out how do you really, I don't have two generations behind me of real estate in my head and in my blood.
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to understand, like, what's the best way to, because like coaches and your, brokerage and whatnot, look at the numbers and study the market and know that my brain has a hard time connecting with that at times.
Because when I pull the numbers, so I was trying to bring up some data for folks about the days on market, and you have to know the things that can skew the data before you start searching the data.
Yeah, because there's just a tweak that can make it all different.
Yes, and you want it to be relevant. So when I was pulling up the days on market, I pulled off every new build. Yep. Because they'll let them sit, and they don't care. They're not indicative of what is truly happening in the market, so they can skew the days on market. So I don't care about prices. Just if I was just searching days on market, that's what I'm looking for. Because you want the resales.
It's kind of like average versus mean.
100%.
A little bit of that skewing.
Because most sellers, they don't care about how long it's taking to sell a new build. They care how long it's going to take to sell their house.
Right. For sure. The one that I recently kind of processed and feel like, that kind of helps identify the market. I was looking at like what's selling and what's on the market and like the average price. Have you ever paid attention to that? The difference between list price, sales price, what things listed for, what things sold for?
Yeah. They're evening out right now, at least in this area.
Yeah. Well, the last
generally.
Yeah, so it's about 99%, 100 in the last handful of weeks. It seems like, or last week or two. No, but the active listing versus, and I'm always interested to know why things are the way they are, the numbers.
Yeah.
But there's like a 20, I think yesterday, the day before when I looked, it was 24% between what's listed and what sells. Mm-hmm. So see if I can follow this. The listing price versus the sales price is always about 100%.
Ish.
I mean, within a couple percent.
Right.
But then, and I guess I'm kind of thinking it through as I'm talking through it, but then what's actively listed versus what's closing, there's
the
like
stuff that's been on longer. Is what you basically. Yeah, the stuff that's sitting, and that's the thing. The stuff that sells immediately tends to sell pretty quicker than the stuff that's sitting.
Right.
So the stuff that's selling within the first 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks.
Kind of like you were saying earlier. Yep.
Yeah, tends to get closer to or just over what they're asking. But the stuff that's been sitting longer, it depends on how they're price dropping. So you can have, you can be up for 60 days and you do a big price drop and then you go back up and people bid it back up again. Mm-hmm. So it does, it's original list price to sale price that intrigues me in those situations, because all right, well, if a house was up for 65 days, how far under original list price did they end up having to sell to make it happen? Because that's the data you need to say, like, if you price it here and we don't sell within X amount of days, we're going to be down here.
Right.
So keeping that reality, and then talking with sellers about, the longer you stay up, that the market is shifting. We're going back to full inspections and full, people asking for repairs and all that kind of stuff. So
back to that. Okay. Yeah. So I think I was processing the two different percentages. One was list price to sales price. One is
original list price to sale price.
Well, yeah, original. And so that's compared. I'm comparing apples to oranges. So I had it wrong.
I mean, it's all fruit, but it's just there's. I think the biggest thing to take away is there's so many ways to interpret the data, and what are you looking for, and what are you trying to convey? Because useless data is just that. Useless data.
As they say, you can make the statistics whatever you want.
Whatever you want. So I think it's one of those where, okay, well, those of us that, I know what's happening, but the data is important to support it. So just like I knew the crash was coming back in the day, but it wasn't in the media, and there wasn't just data out there yet for that sort of stuff, but we knew what was happening. Mm-hmm. So it's just like I know right now, and again, educate yourself on the growth, because it's coming. These jobs are coming, and these people need housing, and we got to get ahead of it.
So,
because we're already behind.
Catch up. So is it a self-perpetuating system? The more we fulfill, because I hear a lot more and more, oh, my family's coming in, or I came in because of my family. Mm-hmm. So the more we satisfy that need, will we be known as the place that satisfies the need for housing? So that will only increase our need for housing.
I hope so.
Yeah. Even though we can't fulfill it.
I love it here.
I do too. I'm just saying.
Should
we ask for more demand?
Once. Well, yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. Morpsey's asking. The Columbus Realtors are asking. One Columbus is asking. Everyone's asking for more housing of every level.
Right.
Whether it's multifamily condos, single family, high end luxury, whatever. We need it. So I think it's just a matter of getting there and getting the municipalities to understand and get creative. Does everything have to be these cookie cutters? Can we have some tinier homes? A lot of people don't mind living smaller now.
Yep.
So getting the municipalities to understand that, again, just because you don't want to live in it doesn't mean someone else wouldn't be perfectly stoked to live in it.
So here's the other question. If we keep being better here, I forget the other stat, but the one was from 2010 to 2020, Central Ohio, I think it was Franklin and surrounding counties, grew by 235,000. That was a thing I think you shared maybe from the Columbus Realtors presentation on census data. And the remaining 77 counties in that same time period grew by 35,000.
Yeah.
So we grew significantly here in Central Ohio. So if we continue that trajectory, and I forget the other stat that proved that we're growing and other places aren't growing as much, What does the affordable housing look like in all of those areas? And now affordability obviously goes to if you don't have any money, no money or no price is affordable. And then is there an opportunity? Like at what point will people say, whoa, nobody wants to be over there? There's an opportunity.
We're already starting to see that.
Yeah.
But then you have to discuss transit. And I think that COVID has had two distinct impacts, I think, on location. You've had people who don't want to have to go anywhere. They want it right next to them, and they're willing to live more dense and not have to travel everywhere for work. And then you have people who work remote who are like, I don't care.
Get away.
I have other needs. As long as I have internet, that's good. I don't care where I'm at. So I think we have both happening at the same time. Some communities, and that's what we have to be careful to straddle is if you get to the point when the families don't want to move here to be close to their family members, we're in trouble. Because now you're on this precipice of declining, which has a ripple effect for everything. You just don't want to be a declining community. So you're just going to look at the declining communities and they're really struggling. And there are plenty of them in Ohio, and they're really trying to figure out how do we get people back here because of all their issues they're having. So it's better to be and for the people that say we're big enough, let's just stay how we are. That's not real either, because then that doesn't allow for literally, I have like 400 cousins. So my family's not allowed to grow. So just we're big enough is illogical just in families growing in and of themselves.
Right.
Never mind people moving here. So, we're big enough. You don't want anyone to come work at Honda?
So is the population growing or shrinking?
Growing.
Because I've heard
Central
both.
Ohio. So it is.
No, I mean
it is both. It is both. So Central Ohio is growing exponentially, but the rest of the state, people are leaving.
No, I mean like as people dying, people being born. Aren't we declining total?
We are declining, but it's not going to be anything in the next.
And that's different than how much are we growing? I'm not saying that, but overall,
that is the trend.
Yeah, which is interesting.
But
I've just heard both, so
that's
what
there's still a lot of people having a lot of babies.
Too many, huh?
No, I bet it does worry me because those kids who are being born right now, what in the world are they going to buy?
Well, I think there's a whole lot of other questions.
Yeah. No, I know. But our brain, real estate brain, is more of just like buy a rental now so that you have something to sell your kids in 30 years.
Mm-hmm. Make some money. Yeah. I'm realizing that I'm finally talking in the mic how I was supposed to this whole time. I was doing it this way instead of that. No. Yeah. Okay. What was the other question I was going to ask you? I had one more to finish up.
Yes, I will take some focaccia.
All right, I'll bring you some. Remember that time you asked me for duck fat when I went hunting?
It's so good.
But there's no fat on wild ducks, so.
Oh,
it didn't work out.
That's okay. I can buy it in Kroger now.
Oh, fancy Kroger. Kroger's got some good stuff. That's for sure. Okay, best piece of advice. We already covered that. Buy your house now.
Buy your house now. Buy your house now. And get creative. Get creative with your lender. Get creative with what you're willing to live in. Get creative with the mindset of potential. Don't allow yourself to be disappointed. Allow yourself to be stimulated, to improve, and just know it's a house. You make it a home. So
exactly.
Just get ready to do that over time, and don't be in a rush. Long process.
Well, you mean to get through it?
To do your house. So say your house.
I was going to say rush to get one, but once you get started,
not what you do with it.
Yeah.
Like I've been in my house 18 years, and I'm still working on stuff. So the house does not have to be everything you want it to be day one. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really big mistake that a lot of people, not just first-time home buyers, but second and third, like we all know, it's going to take a minute to make it yours, and be okay with that.
That's right. Well. Then hopefully you can find somebody to work on it with that shortage.
Hopefully.
And it doesn't take too long.
Ugh.
YouTube University.
Do not let Crocco help you. I can tell you what needs done, but don't let me touch it. I'm not even allowed to paint in my own house. No. I get it on the ceiling. I get it on with tape. I get it on the trim. I get it.
Too much of a rush?
I'm not paying attention.
Yeah. ADD kicking in.
Can I have music on? Start dancing.
No. Let's say if you can hear our jazzercise music, hopefully you're enjoying it. They started recently here in the studio. All right. Well, thanks. Unless you have any other advice or any other talking points you think would be beneficial to talk about the good stuff in the housing market these days. Overall, mine is this is a good place to be. More people want to be here,
it's
proving
a great
that.
Place to be.
Best of both worlds. You're a small town, rural on the north, and everything south.
Yeah. No, I love
Southeast.
it here. I'm such a fan of our community, and I was not that way when I lived here. I went away to college, and I was like, I'm never coming back.
You were one of those.
I swore I was never coming back, and then I was like, I kind of like it here when I got back.
I always joke about that. I was the practical one that was like, I'm going to end up back here, so I'm just going to stay.
See?
And I stayed.
No. But, yeah, just getting over that. It's great here. I absolutely love it. So this is a townie that's lived here multi-generation that didn't want to come back and is like, you know what? It's great. I don't know that I would want. And I travel all over the world. I've been everywhere, and it's great to come home.
Yep. It's
this is home.
Best of both worlds in Ohio. How many things here can eat you or kill you outside of cars? We don't have too many snakes. There's maybe an occasional poisonous snake, but there's no wolves, there's no bears, there's no poisonous snakes and stuff.
There's foxes, but they don't want to get in my car.
Have you been after that one? Yeah.
He wouldn't get in my car.
I wonder why.
We were gonna snuggle. But we have no natural disasters. Really.
Yeah, I mean, in
we
general,
have some tornadoes,
but what's there to be like?
Not consistently.
So one, you can trade the boredom of no mountains, no beach, no whatever people say for at least
security.
Your chances. All that stuff. And economically, we're good. I've heard the diversity of economics in Central Ohio is great, and that's one of the reasons it's doing so good. Everything's coming here, all this stuff. That's great. So
yeah, and I'm excited for some of the public transit options that are going to be coming because.
Are we actually going to get a train?
I hope so.
I thought that was like
super hope
tomorrow
so.
They were breaking ground, and then 8 years later, it's like, they're still working on it.
A lot has happened.
Yeah.
But I think with the growth, the Intel announcements, and all the other announcements locally,
it'll happen.
That there is an even more pressing need to get that done and better the infrastructure for public transit. Yeah.
Awesome.
And especially as things get more expensive. You need housing. You have public transit. You don't need a vehicle.
A little different. I'm hearing more of that push that people want to not have a car.
Yeah.
Okay. That's enough. Thank you so much.
If you see us out, we like bread.
And focaccia.
Bread is focaccia.
I was being more specific.
Oh, I'll take any bread.
Sorry, I should have said specifically, not.
I'll take any bread you have.
Yes, sourdough's my favorite. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If there's anything we can do for you, let us know. Until next time.
Bye.
Peace out.